Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 3. I'm Brendan Copeland. I'm joined by my co-host, Jonathan Stallings.
What's up?
And our great guest, Brent Bachman.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me here. It took so much not to laugh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. that quiet before that happened took everything in my power not to laugh.
Well,
Yeah.
we can hear it, but you can't.
Yeah,
so
no,
it's,
so I was
it's
just sitting
weird.
here like, oh.
Just sitting there in complete silence.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, so episode 3. I mean,
Yeah.
we've made it through 2 episodes. On to the third one. This
Yep.
show is actually a reality.
Congratulations, you two. I should be proud of yourselves.
Big 3, top 3.
Yeah.
Best 3 episodes, number 1, 2, 3.
I wanted to do this like a year and a half ago, and then it just never happened. No, probably 2 years ago, and it just never happened. And then Jonathan one day was just like, "Hey, did you ever do that podcast?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, well,
Let's
let's
do it.
just do it. And so I'm so glad he said that because now we're doing it. So
Yeah. we're
Yeah,
doing
y'all
it.
should be proud. This is cool. I think it's interesting for y'all to start your own thing. I think it's cool.
It's
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Your own
All right,
individual
so Brent over here, you know, big man on the block.
thing. I'm ready.
So what has been of recent that you are obsessed with? That all three of us have become
Not
obsessed with.
recent, dude. I've been obsessed with this since I
But
was
no. There is something.
5.
There's something specifically of recent that is related to it.
Specifically recent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The answer is Spider-Man PS4.
Yes.
The Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah.
But I've been obsessed with Spider-Man since I was like 5.
Yeah. Which I mean, I don't blame you. Spider-Man is an amazing superhero.
Yeah, now that, especially once you just, like you play the game, it's just amazing.
hmm
Yeah.
That's amazing Spider-Man.
We won't be talking about the game because it's new enough that, like,
Yeah. We don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Dang it!
It is incredible though. If
a
you
great
have the
game.
opportunity to play the game, get your hands on a copy.
It's not incredible.
It's amazing.
Spectacular.
There you go.
Oh, I
It is
was going for the Amazing Spider-Man, but
Ooh, the worst Spider-Man movies.
well,
All right, this is where
we're talking about Spider-Man, and so we were all over at Brent's house watching him play Spider-Man day 1, and we started talking about the movies, and it seemed like we all had differing opinions. So that's what we're going to talk about today:
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man movies.
I am born ready for this conversation.
So, I think we're going to start with 2002 Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. We're just going to go through Spider-Man 1, 2, 3. Then The Amazing Spider-Man 1, 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, and then I have thoughts on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Venom. We can talk about that if we have time.
We can speculate about that.
Yep. So, Brent and I think that the Sam Raimi trilogy is not as good as people think.
And I'm on the opposing view of that.
Right.
I personally think that it is other than Homecoming, because Homecoming is really good.
Okay, I respect you for that answer.
Other than Homecoming, I think so. If you compare the Amazing Spider-Man versus the original Spider-Man trilogy, I think that the original Spider-Man trilogy is far better.
I really, really disagree with you, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Spider-Man 1, you got to respect it because it's
It's the
the
first.
it's like it's
yeah,
like
it's
it's like
the
what
first.
it's what set the standard for like modern superhero movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I respect it, but I went back and watched it like over the summer, and like the writing in it is like really
it's
corny.
So bad.
Granted, I haven't seen it in a while, and I think the last time I saw it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, you're going off of like a childhood basis here.
Exactly,
Which is
yes.
understandable, and it's okay. That's like totally
Yeah.
fine. Like in that aspect, they're the best movies of all time.
Yeah,
Ever.
completely.
Um,
And the Amazing Spider-Man was just horrible.
the case that
I didn't even
have,
see the second one because the first one was so bad.
the case that I have for like not the Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 1, the Sam Raimi one, having really bad writing. Just the one that kind of sums it all up is when the Green Goblin says something and he's like, "You're out of here, Spider-Man," and Spider-Man's like, "You're out, Gobby, out of your mind," and then that just
It's just super corny. Yeah, it feels like they took that like straight from.
But isn't that the point of Spider-Man? That everything he does is incredibly corny?
No, there's a point where like the line is like drawn. Like he's supposed to be like a nerdy geek. Like the most important thing about the Spider-Man movies is Peter Parker.
Right.
You don't have Spider-Man without Peter Parker.
Yeah,
And in
obviously.
the Sam Raimi, Peter Parker is just so. If like I told Jonathan, it feels forced. Like it feels like he's being forced to be corny. It's not like a natural reaction. Like he's naturally geeky. Like what you just said is enough evidence. Like who says that during a fight? Who says you too, Gobby? You're out of your mind. Like no.
But I
But
mean-
back then, I didn't look at that. I looked at Spider-Man just beat up the Green Goblin or vice versa.
Right. Like me too. Like,
and that's okay. But like now looking back on it, it's just so like it's cringy if anything.
it's like, well, Peter Parker, in my opinion, in the Sam Raimi trilogy, first of all, he's too old. He's like older than the teacher. Like the guy they cast as the teacher is like younger than him.
For sure. Like the high schoolers like they're 30 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's in college, isn't he?
No, he's in high school.
Oh,
Senior
in the
year of
very
high
first
school
one,
in
he
the
is.
first one.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
in most of the Spider-Man's movies, he's in high school.
Yeah. They get like younger as they go throughout the movies.
Which
but
is
like,
a good thing.
But like Peter Parker is like, Tobey Maguire plays a like convincing enough Peter Parker before he gets bitten by the spider.
Like he's very geeky and like, but it's the Spider-Man part of it.
And like what people like about Spider-Man is that, at least what I like about Spider-Man is how Peter Parker deals with being Spider-Man. Like how he like balances the life of being this incredible superhero versus just being some, nerdy little kid.
Yeah.
And I think Tobey Maguire was just like a nerdy guy in the first Spider-Man, and then he got bit by the spider, and then he just became like kind of weird and like.
So the Spider-Man, the problem I have with the Raimi, Tobey Maguire part is like, so my favorite thing about Spider-Man: Homecoming is like when Tom Holland gets bit, and you never see that, but he gets bit, and like he's still learning to be a superhero, and he makes human mistakes. Tobey Maguire gets bit and becomes like the biggest and like best fighter in the game. Like is all like doesn't like he makes mistakes, but like he doesn't. Y'all get what I'm saying? It's kind of
I understand what you're saying.
yeah. It's hard to explain.
No, it makes sense.
Like he doesn't make any mistakes that like me and you would make if we got superpowers like within a day.
Like
he becomes expert at swinging like within a day. Like there's at one point where he hits the billboard, but you never see him make any kind of mistake like that again.
The only problem like that he faces is when, first of all, he in Spider-Man 2 he loses the ability to web shoot because he's like stressed or whatever. And in Spider-Man 1, when he's first learning he's Shazam, like he does the rock on symbol. I thought that was like corny but like funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that Peter Parker in the Sam Raimi trilogy, like I agree that he doesn't go through problems as an individual. He goes through problems with MJ, and don't even get me started on MJ. Like, man.
Why? What problem do you have with her?
With
I have
MJ?
so many.
Yeah.
MJ
specifically in the Tobey Maguire series.
MJ in Spider-Man 1, she was good. She was the best in Spider-Man 1. She was the popular girl, didn't notice Peter until the end of Spider-Man 1, like post final goblin scene when he's holding up the tram of children or MJ, save the little children or the girl you love. And that's when Mary Jane became not Mary Jane, but screaming damsel in distress. And that's the biggest, that annoys me the most about MJ. And in Spider-Man 2...
So you have a problem with the character that they wrote, not specifically
Mary
the
Jane.
actor.
No, I think Kristen Dunst, she didn't write, she played Mary Jane.
Yes.
I think she's a fine actor. She was good in other stuff.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, she's, especially in like Spider-Man 2 and 3, she was like all about love and relationships, and then she got married to this one guy, and then her friend was like, don't, make sure you love him, and then she screamed some more at the end.
So my biggest problem with MJ in the Raimi trilogy is she's very two-faced. In the first movie, and by the way, all three of the movies, the main plot is saving MJ.
Right.
And each one, the ending climax is she has to save MJ.
Yeah.
But my biggest problem, like she was pretty solid through the first and the second one, but at the end of the second one, she leaves that fiance and is like, comes to Peter and she's like, I will be the girlfriend that's always there for you and this, that, and the other. And if you get to Spider-Man 3, she leaves him within like the first 10 minutes.
Right.
Like dumps him and like because he's Spider-Man.
It's the worst in Spider-Man 3. The screaming MJ is the worst in Spider-Man 2 in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But Spider-Man 3 is especially bad because she like didn't make the part or she got like fired. And Peter was like saying how like actual like good advice, saying like, don't let other people bring you down.
Yeah.
I know that from experience because I'm Spider-Man. And she's like, it's all about you. and I just wanted to like just punch it, like just like this is actual advice that you should be taking. And
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. I have to realize that I'm coming at this from a little boy's perspective the entire time. So I think the main reason why I never had really a huge problem with
because
MJ,
you thought she was hot.
yes, because she was attractive, and I'm a teenage boy going through puberty, and I'm looking at like Spider-Man.
thought she was hot.
And I'm like, I would like to have a girlfriend, and I didn't, and so.
Man,
that's okay.
if a girl like MJ in the Spider-Man trilogy came up to me and said, "I want to be your girlfriend," I would say, "Are you talking to me? Like what?" Like,
oh, 100%. Yeah, I'd be like, you have the wrong person right now.
right. What?
Like, are you just like legally blind? Like, did you forget your glasses? Like,
Well,
I
I mean,
dog yourself like that. I'll tell you.
you don't sell yourself short, Brando.
Both of you, not
Well, no,
just
no.
not just Brandon.
no, it has nothing. It has nothing to do with like me saying that I couldn't or anything like that, or not ragging on myself. What I'm saying is that
For me, she screams a lot, and that's just like really annoying. That could have gone one of two ways.
we're not gonna take it there. But
That's
so,
funny.
but okay, so where was I at?
Nice.
You were talking about how selling yourself short.
So it's not that I'm selling myself short. It's more so that like in high school I wasn't a popular kid by any means.
Oh yeah.
And all the popular kids like they weren't the nicest to me. Is all I'm gonna say.
Did this movie come out when y'all were in high school? Because that just shows my age a little bit.
No, it didn't. No.
2000
Well, you just said it like came out during high school. I was like, "There's no,
No,
way."
I'm saying 16 years
because
ago.
Peter Parker is in high school when it occurs.
Oh, okay.
I'm
gotcha.
saying me in high school.
It's like
I was
So you
relatable.
compared yourself to like Peter Parker and then you in high school.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was the band nerd. Like I was the kid that like was really awkward and everybody was always like that kid super weird.
I just realized how stupid of a question that was.
Yeah. So my point here is not so much that like I'm ragging on myself. It's just that a popular person at my school would have been like, "You're an idiot," and
Right.
walked
Mhm.
away.
All right, so I have a completely unrelated question. What do you guys think about webs coming from Peter
Yeah.
instead of web shooters?
I think
It's interesting.
I think the thing that they did with that was they were trying to build go like a different aspect on Spider-Man, but my problem with that is like one of the main qualities of Peter Parker is that he's like a super genius. Like he's super intelligent, and for him to build his web shooters shows his intelligence.
I mean, you
never-
get to see a little bit of that in the movie, but not to the extent that you would see with
Like
him
an
building
actual
it.
Peter Parker. And like another thing about the Raimi series is you don't see his intelligence come out that often.
I was about to say
Yes,
that. Like
yeah.
in
Like-
Spider-Man 2, he was like, "I'm writing a paper on Doc Ock," and
Exactly.
then Doc Ock is like, "I want to do this thing," and then he does the thing,
You
and
never
Peter's like,
really-
"Uh-oh."
You never really see that like geeky
The
intelligence
super
come
intelligence.
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is I understand that aspect of it.
They focused more, I think, on Peter Parker's awkwardness
Yes,
rather than
entirely.
his intelligence and him
Intelligence
just
and
being like a
geekiness.
nerd.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which I guess I kind of related to because I'm just super awkward.
I guess that's something to be relatable to, but that's like not that's not really who Spider-Man is.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if you're looking
Yeah.
at it from a relatability standpoint, relatable standpoints, I could see that.
Mhm.
But from a looking at it as a character,
Yes.
then I don't know. I don't know about that.
So for me, because my first experience with Spider-Man was these movies,
Right.
seeing him seeing the webs coming out of his wrists, I thought, oh, that is
That's
what-
Spider-Man.
Yeah, like I thought
Yeah,
that
you
was
had no
what-
idea what it
exactly.
other things.
So
about
for
it.
the longest time, anytime I saw somebody with web shooters instead of it coming out of their hands, I was like, no, that's wrong. Like that's not Spider-Man. And then I started to realize, oh wait, no,
Yeah.
the other way is wrong. And now that I think about it, it's really weird that it would just
Yeah.
come straight out of his wrist where there's no like hole or anything.
Mhm.
It would make sense like if it like came out like his nose or ears or like somewhere where there's like a
Some
hole. Or,
aura.
Or like he
Face.
grew,
Yeah,
like
or
it
like-
like showed like a gland being grown with like a little hole coming out.
Yeah,
like
like-
at least
like-
something to like give like justice to
yeah,
it.
exactly. Because or some place where there is a means of it coming out of.
Which like a
rather than
wrist would
just-
probably be a good. I mean, there's nothing like really important except this like artery right here. So I mean,
Mhm.
like you could probably put something there too. Like I
Yeah.
get like the science about it could probably like some way work.
The
but
webs flow.
his wrist
through
would
your
look
veins.
fat for sure. Like he would have like fat wrists. 'Cause there's no way.
I also have
Figgy fat.
another question that's kind
Figgy
of
fat.
controversial about these movies. Aunt May and Uncle Ben, too old or just the right age?
Homecoming, just the right age. the Tobey Maguire ones a little too old, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like
It would have to be like Peter's mom would have to be like 10 years younger,
Yeah.
or maybe even like 20 years younger.
Mhm.
Which in some families that's the case, but like
Mhm. I feel like Homecoming did a good job with Aunt May. Like,
Yeah.
I agree.
My aunts are like close to similar age as Aunt May.
Right.
So like and I'm around the same age Spider-Man would have been in
And then
Homecoming.
I don't remember Aunt May and Tobey Maguire at all.
Oh,
in
she
Tobey
was-
Maguire or in
Tobey Maguire.
I
the
thought you might have been
Spider-Man.
confusing with Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, I
Oh,
found
no. Sorry, I am.
She was fine.
In the
She
Amazing Spider-Man, I don't remember her age at all.
would have been like 5 years older than Peter's mom, 5 or 6 years older, like old enough, like
Mm-hmm.
to be like definitely the older sister. But
Yeah,
Mhm.
I do think it was, which I know that like this is actually a thing, but I do think that it was kind of weird, just because I wasn't used to it, having Peter Parker's mom aunt be like hot, because it was a weird like it was a weird thing because like this is like Peter Parker's aunt, like I'm not like this is Aunt May, like I'm not supposed to be attracted
I'm
to Aunt May.
so glad they did that in Captain America: Civil War. They're like, you're an unusually attractive aunt.
Oh
like,
yeah. What I found funny when you were talking about the organic web shooters is I remember as a kid having like the mechanical web shooters.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
though the movie was organic web
Yeah,
shooters,
uh-huh.
they sold mechanical web shooters.
And it was just silly
like they
string.
knew they were wrong.
I remember-
It was just white silly
yeah,
string.
it was
is
just
all
white
it
silly
was.
string.
I remember I had these like Spider-Man gloves that like they fit around the hand,
Yeah.
and then they like came down to like the middle part of my forearm.
and that
But they were open, and they had this big can, like a shaving cream can. It
Yeah.
wasn't actually shaving cream; it was silly string, and like you would have to like press down like on it,
Mhm.
and like your fingers would like bend like that, and it's silly string, and like it was always a mess. So like I never
Mhm.
did it, but
I did it all the time. I did not care. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I remember having a tree in my backyard, and I would routinely climb it and then just shoot it off the tree. Like I would be like holding on to like a
beast.
limb,
You little
a limb.
beast.
beast.
That's cool.
I-
All right, I want
yeah.
to hear his argument for why he doesn't like and your argument for why you do like the Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay, are we
Because
gonna
I
do that?
don't and do like them at the same time.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay, Andrew Garfield is way too cool. We talked about that earlier. He's
Mhm.
just way too cool.
I agree.
I
It-
agree
it,
entirely.
It makes no sense for him to be Peter Parker by any means. The movie is too emo. Like
Emo.
I definitely disagree with you on that.
Peter Parker is an upbeat character, and Tobey Maguire is not upbeat. Tobey Maguire is sorry, Andrew Garfield is not upbeat. Andrew Garfield
Whisper.
is super like he's super apathetic about everything
Mhm.
in that movie, and that is not Peter Parker.
I
And I'm not finished there. The movie,
Oh goodness.
the movie itself is just not good. It's cinematically not good. I don't like it.
I like some of the shots in it. I like some of the scenes. Like when
There
Uncle
are-
Ben dies and Flash is like saying he's sorry to Peter. I thought that was like one of the most
yeah,
moving
that was a good
scenes.
that was a good scene.
But
there
that
are-
was like
there
my
are a
only good
couple
scene.
moments in that movie
Mhm.
where it's like, okay, that was good. But for the most part, like it's just not written very well in my opinion. It's not like shot very well. There's just a lot of things that I have gripes with it.
Yeah.
I personally like the Amazing Spider-Man movies, both of them, more than the Sam Raimi trilogy. And I watched the Amazing Spider-Man like all the time when it came out. And what Peter Parker is definitely too cool. He's like a dude. He takes pictures with like this old vintage camera. I thought Andrew Garfield was a little not weird, but like he's British, and so I guess his American accent was like kind of came off as
Forced.
like not real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know what you're meaning. Yeah.
But that only happened at like the beginning of the movie. The example that I'm thinking of is when like Flash is like making the kid eat the lunch, the disgusting lunch, and he's like, "Come on, man, put him down, like put him down." Flash like mumbling like that,
Mhm.
and then he says, "Put him down, Eugene," and it's like a weird delivery, and
Yeah.
that always was also really weird. I also thought Andrew Garfield being Spider-Man, they didn't quite find the balance between Peter Parker and Spider-Man. They did
Yeah.
it better than Sam Raimi, in my opinion.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
And he was just not as witty. He was more witty than Tobey Maguire.
Mm-hmm.
But the wittiness was always like kind of weird. Like when he first learns how to swing in like the new suit, he's like, "Hey, I'm swinging here," and that was just like that completely did not land. That was
Yeah.
a bomb joke.
Mhm. So something else that I also really loved in the Tobey Maguire ones is when is the whole pizza like thing. I
And Spider-Man 2, when he's the
Yes.
pizza delivery boy.
I just love that. I think it's so funny and I think it's really great. And then in the Amazing Spider-Man, like there's just nothing quite like that.
So I have two gripes with the Amazing Spider-Man. One, Peter Parker, like we said, was too cool.
Yeah.
But he also showed intelligence. Like,
Right.
more, like he built the web shooters and he worked for
He
it.
like snuck into Oscorp and like answered the questions. Like,
Yeah, but like the Andrew Garfield, I know he's a huge Spider-Man fan. Like when he found out he got the part, he like cried. But I feel like he didn't have that much of an opinion or movement in how he wanted to be Peter Parker. And so Peter Parker, like when you said the bully, for example, you said that when he walks up and like, stops Flash from bullying that kid, Peter Parker should have been the kid that was getting flipped over and put on the table.
Right.
Yep.
Like he should have been the one getting bullied. I just feel like Andrew Garfield's more like a model Spider-Man. Like he's trying to be like really like masculine, like
yeah.
like a model.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um,
Male model.
and the best part about Spider-Man is you can relate to him.
Mhm.
That's the best. That's one of the best
It's just like
qualities.
a normal guy.
Yeah,
and
you
I,
just-
and I could not relate to Andrew
That,
Garfield.
and that's the thing. And the other part that I have with it is like the subplot with his parents. You could honestly take out his parents, and the movie would not change
Yeah.
at all. And they focus on his parents a lot more than they should have, just because that it made it seem like Peter Parker was destined to be Spider-Man.
I disagree that if you take out the parents, then nothing would happen, because that's like the entire subplot of the movie. Like he's trying to figure out his parents. I do agree that they focused on it too much.
Oh, way too much, like
Yeah.
entirely.
So I never saw the second one. Do they ever bring do they explain stuff
It's
about that?
it's the opening scene.
Yeah,
Okay, 'cause
the
I never
dad
saw the
the
second
dad's the
one.
one that makes the spider, which is another thing. Like Peter Parker, one of the cool qualities is like you said, he's just an average Joe. Like he's just it could have been anyone that walked into that lab that day and got bit by the spider.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's Peter Parker.
Mhm.
And that fact, like that they're pressing like it was his destiny to be Spider-Man.
Well,
like it's not.
I don't
Not
don't think it
appealing.
was like his destiny per se. I think it was just the fact that his dad was working on that specific.
But that's how the movie like portrays it. Like they kind of like push that as like his dad wanted him to be in charge, or
Yeah.
like at least
yeah.
finish his role with the spiders.
I do like the kind of, I guess, aesthetic of the
Mhm.
science parts of that movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love the web making.
When he got bit by the spider, like just thinking about that, like I kind of want to just like brush off my shoulders. I thought that was a really fun way. He just
Mhm.
kind of just snooping. That's not like what Peter Parker does, but like
Yeah.
from like if you were just watching that,
Yeah,
I think that's a fine way.
yeah. Not to like take anything away from it. There was like definitely some like the opening of Spider-Man 2 is like when he's falling. I thought was probably one of the coolest way to open a Spider-Man movie because it's just a symbol.
Yeah.
And it fades into his back and he's falling and then he swings. I'm like that's a really cool way to
Yeah.
start off a Spider-Man movie.
I saw the Amazing Spider-Man 2 twice or 3 times in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that movie.
Mm.
But going back to the Amazing Spider-Man, I want to talk about the lizard,
The lizard.
and I
what
want
about
to see what you guys think about that.
So, I just want to say, do you know what the lizard's main focus, like his big bad guy motive was?
For the movie,
Yeah,
or
for
just
the
in
movie.
general?
For the movie.
You're just trying to make everyone lizards.
What kind of superhero villain plot is that? I want to
Right?
make everyone
Yeah.
a lizard. Like, I want to make everyone better and a lizard.
I would have preferred it if it was like Dr. Connors testing on himself, which they did in the movie
Yeah.
just fine.
And like the scene where he's showing his arm and then it's like reflecting like
That's
his
a
other
cool
arm,
scene.
That's a really cool scene.
I wish they did, instead of like the lizard being, I guess, sentient,
Mm-hmm.
and like having a motive and doing stuff. I wish it was just like destroying the city and like
giant
Yeah.
lizard just
Like just going
and just
rampage.
being just a pain. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. The Amazing Spider-Man, the second one, I would have loved it if they would have just focused on one villain. Like,
I
I don't
think
feel like they should have brought in the Green Goblin.
the Green Goblin was only there because they teased the Sinister Six.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which I would have loved to see that. Doc Ock is my favorite villain, Spider-Man villain.
Doc Ock is my most okay. So
It's the most threatening one.
yes, and that's why he's so out of any villain of any superhero whatever. I hate Doc Ock the most. Not in the sense not in the sense that I don't like him as a character.
You hate him,
But
as a
you
villain.
hate him as a villain.
Yes, I hate.
That's a good. That's
His
what
character.
That's good.
Yeah, and that's good. Like you want that about a villain. You want to hate the villain.
I
Yeah.
just let's talk about Spider-Man 2. I've got thoughts on Spider-Man 2.
Wait, like the
Tobey
amazing
Maguire,
Tobey
Spider-Man
Maguire?
2.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about Doc Ock.
Okay.
Everybody says that movie is the best Spider-Man movie. A lot of people say it's like one of the greatest superhero movies ever. Everybody says it's the greatest superhero movie
Before
ever.
you dig yourself in a hole, the best of the Tobey Maguire, like the Raimi series.
It's the best of the Tobey Maguire series.
Yes.
I'll agree. I went back and watched that with kind of a more, I guess, critical view of it.
Yeah.
And it's just really like not that great. And like
Mm-hmm.
it's average. It has a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, which is like
Super
normal.
It's like a super old rating too.
I thought the guy who played Dr. Octavius was
He didn't really fit the role. I'll give you that.
he Dr. Octavius is like in Spider-Man PS4 perfect.
Yes.
So good.
But we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about that.
But we're not talking
Yeah.
about that.
But you're right. Octavius is more of like a small shrivel guy
Well-
that can't really like do a whole lot because he gets that disease, and
Yeah.
that's the whole point of him creating the suit.
And that's why he gets so obsessed with the arms.
I,
and it
I
becomes
like
such a big
I like
thing.
to think Octavius was more of a mentor to Peter.
Yeah, and that's what makes
Yeah.
it so personal.
And he was okay in Spider-Man 2. Like they talked and then no, they didn't really talk. I'm
they
gonna
weren't a
go
good
back on
mentor. Yeah,
it. He was like, "Oh yeah, read her poetry." And then
they're
he
just
was-
acquaintances.
I do like how he's at the laundromat reading poetry. I like that. But when he's doing whatever it is, creating the sun, whatever
Yeah,
it was,
it's
that's
very
still
weird.
He
That's-
was trying to sustain energy like Tony Stark does with the arc reactors.
Yeah, well,
sure, but that
it's-
was like a
it's not.
He was doing a
it's
fusion reactor. is what he's
fusion.
trying to
Okay,
do.
yeah. So it's which just side note, but we're actually coming really close to commercial fusion.
Yeah, that'd be
Or
terrifying.
is it fission or fusion?
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 Maybe fission.
We'll
But
look
in
it-
the
let's look
movie,
it up.
it's called like it's called like fusion. It's like the
well,
fusion
it's whatever the
reactor or
sun
something
is.
like that.
So
it's I don't know, but when
It's like a bomb. It's terrifying.
when
Keep going.
when he said, we have these arms thanks to Oscorp or whatever, and he puts on the arms, and that was really cool. I forgot how it breaks.
Mhm.
The
it's
chip,
fusion. It's fusion. I'm sorry.
It is.
the chip breaks, and that is what makes him like Doc Ock.
Yeah.
I don't remember why that happens. I just remember that shot being really weird because he's like, he notices it breaks, and then he turns completely around, so the camera can look at him, like feel that, and then he turns back around, and then like, I'm pretty sure that happens after, like the event at, when they were showing off the nuclear thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, if he was not corrupted by then, which I don't know if he was, I don't remember it that well. He could have been, for all I know. He, as a genius scientist that can create sustainable energy, should have had, the mind to like
Put it in a fail safe.
not only that, but stop it when things started happening, bad
Mhm.
things started happening. And the worst part of that scene was when the glass broke, and you see this one piece of glass, and then his wife is like,
Yeah.
oh no, and she's like up against the wall, and it's just like I get like it's probably moving fast, but she was like moving in real time, so she could have like moved out of the way,
Yeah.
and like the glass like stabbed her eye. I guess that's supposed to like imply that it like stabbed like through like her head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That always bothered me because it was like, that's like a weird way to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is a weird way to die. I'll give you that.
A weird way to die. That got dark.
I
Weird way to die.
I do.
Eh.
I liked the scene where he was in the doctor's office. That
Mhm.
was a cool scene.
yes.
Did it fit?
Where it was like a horror like scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it fit, but I thought it was a decent way.
I don't remember that.
To show the like
Wait,
how
when
it's.
You
when
remember
Doc
it.
Ock is in a hospital?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and his arms started attacking
Oh,
people.
yeah. No. Yeah.
You start seeing that
That's
they have a
so-
mind of their own.
I always had to look away at that.
That disturbed me when I was
Mhm.
little.
Yeah, it disturbed me too.
Oh no!
Um,
I was sitting there like,
Like, yeah,
what?
like this is awesome.
Yeah, because like the one of the arms grabs a chainsaw and like
It
ugh.
shows the switch. It shows the switch. Like the arms start having a mind mentality of their own.
Yeah,
And it
because
shows.
the
Yeah,
arms
I like that.
start talking to him.
Yeah, and that's
Like
when
they literally look like snakes that come in and like talk to him.
Yeah.
I really liked that.
Yeah,
I thought it was a cool cinematic effect.
Mhm.
I appreciated how Doc Ock's intentions were inherently like not completely bad.
Yeah.
He
Well, Doc Ock's intentions were never really bad.
yeah, he wants to create this thing, and the thing was really bad. So he gets these arms, and it corrupts him, and he becomes Doc Ock. And he robs a bank so he can get money to fund this thing. And then he's like building this thing, and it's starting to destroy the city. But he's like, no, I can like fix it, whatever. I can do this.
He's overconfident in his abilities.
Yeah, so his intentions weren't bad. He wanted to create sustainable energy for the city. And the way he died was weird. Spoiler alert. It's like the chip. It's like the chip like stopped working because it went in water or something.
Yeah.
And I thought the shot of him like sinking with the reactor was so cool. That was such a cool shot.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, he was better. I liked the raindrops keep falling on my head sequence about how he was like not taking Spider-Man seriously. Not that, but like he was like creating more time for Peter Parker, which I wish they elaborated more on Peter Parker.
All right, so I wanna start praising Homecoming. I want to start praising
Homecoming is such a good movie.
All right, let's do it.
So Homecoming, my favorite thing about Homecoming is that you can relate to Peter Parker in every way.
Yeah.
There are some things that you can relate to Peter Parker. And the best way
Tom Holland does a perfect Peter
Oh
Parker.
yeah, and the best way they started off is he's in high school. Like he's just having an average day.
I wanted, he's actually the appropriate age.
I wanted to like go back on what you said about like Spider-Man making human mistakes and how you said he was like, what did you say earlier?
Crap, you caught me.
What did you say? Well,
what?
Like, okay, so like for when he's swinging, like a great example, like in the Raimi trilogy, Tobey Maguire hits a billboard like once and then becomes an expert at swinging. Tom Holland, there's a sequence in that movie where he goes up to swing and misses and then falls on his face and
he's
then
like,
to
okay.
himself
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
just says, I'm okay. Like, no
and-
one's there, but...
Yeah.
And he's like, I forgot, was it the scene where he was chasing the van? He like swung and like landed in the pool.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah.
because he couldn't like.
Or when he's interrogating the guy and tries to do a Batman voice because he doesn't know how to interrogate somebody. Like, I
Right.
wouldn't know how to interrogate someone. Like, so I guess I would probably have the same, if not equal, reaction to that. Another thing that I really like is if you're not already like know who Tom Holland is, the sequence like
Look him up.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you don't know, you need to catch up. You're living under a rock. But anyway, the montage of him showing what happened in Civil War through his video camera.
That was genius.
Well,
I
that was
loved
super
that.
smart because not only like do you get a recap of how they introduced Spider-Man,
He's just
but
like
you
a kid.
also
Like-
you also get like a feeling of how Peter Parker actually is. Like he is
Yeah.
literally just a kid in
Yeah.
like the coolest thing ever, and he's freaking out.
One of my favorite exchanges was
Cautious.
the Queens. Hey,
Yeah.
it's rough, but it's home. And then the Happy in the front is like, what are you doing? I'm just making a little video. That's so funny. That makes me laugh every time.
The other best part is like when he goes to attack the bank robbers like in the first scene, and he's like sitting there and he's trying to figure out how he's gonna lean against the wall. Like he's like, how should I look cool? And he's like trying to think of a joke. And so like I'm like, that's such a human thing.
Yeah.
Like that comes off natural, and it's funny because we would do that. Like
Yeah.
someone would do that. Like if I had those powers, I would do that. I was like, how should I look to look cool and intimidating? And then just ends up putting his hand against the wall. Like this will do. Like,
He's the most like Spider-Man and Peter Parker. He's like an awkward kid.
Yeah.
I never really got like, well, I guess he was showed that he was smart more than the other films. I think they probably could have done that a little bit. No, because he was in like the honors group, whatever.
yeah.
And he like would develop web stuff in chemistry class, which was really funny.
Showed all of his intelligence. Showed his intelligence thoroughly.
I also really, really liked the aesthetic. Like the main poster is him like laying down, listening to music
Yeah.
with the jacket on.
Very relaxed.
Yeah.
And I love the suit. I think it looks awesome.
Oh yeah,
I
his
like how they
suit's
explained
amazing.
it.
Yeah.
And like the cool thing, like it not only does it show his intelligence with the web making, but also when he hacks the suit to get all the abilities. And the other thing that I really, really enjoy about it, if y'all haven't seen, if you're listening to the podcast and don't know what I'm talking about, look up Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man issue 33. This scene is when he's attacking the Vulture, and he goes and fights the Vulture with no suit, no gadgets, just what he had at the beginning. And my favorite thing
Does he have web slingers?
Oh yeah, he has his
Okay.
web because he made those. But and Tony Stark just added stuff to it. But the cool thing about that is that the best thing about Spider-Man is, or not Spider-Man,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is his quality to never give up. Like it says on his Wikipedia page, if you look him up, that one of his superhero powers is never giving up.
Yeah.
And the fact that he could have easily had skipped the like not going to fight the Vulture and being Liz's like boyfriend and not have to deal with that, but he knew that wasn't the right thing to do and went up fighting him with basically nothing, just himself, and then had the willpower to lift that rubble off. That's the reason that Homecoming is so like that scene right there is just makes my heart so happy.
I liked the Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
I am a sucker for villains with, not criminal intentions, but they do it criminally,
like human motives.
And he was basically trying to like steal all of Tony Stark's stuff and like I think distribute it or whatever.
Yeah, just trying to make a living.
Yeah, I liked how the suit, because like you think of the Vulture, he's like some guy that his power is like flight.
He has like wings. Like,
but I liked how the
wings.
suit was explained as it was like a way of accessing these places. I was gonna say something else about the Vulture. I liked Michael Keaton. I liked that dad. He was like the dad of Liz. And that the scene where they were in the car going to, I guess, Homecoming. I don't remember if it was Prom or Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would make sense if it's Homecoming.
And it was like they were in the back, and Liz was like talking about Spider-Man or whatever, and like by then like Spider-Man and the Vulture had already like.
Oh yeah.
And
you could.
I
Feel
need to
awkward.
talk to Peter about like things that guys do, and she's like, oh. And he like pulls out the gun, like turns around.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that like I did not see that coming.
But the best part about that is like you feel the awkwardness in the room. Like you could feel what's his name? Just Spider-Man and Peter Parker in general just kind of sitting there like, oh Lord, like petrified.
I loved it when he like goes to knock on the door, and then immediately Michael Keaton, who plays the Vulture.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton did a great job with the Vulture too.
He did.
Yeah.
He played the moral compass of like what the Vulture was trying to accomplish very well. Like you felt like his motives were just, even though you knew they weren't.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah. So also something that I thought was really great about Homecoming is at the very, very end, you realize that she's MJ, and you're like, oh, that's
I want to
so
talk
cool.
about that MJ. She does not seem like a screamy MJ, and I like that.
Yeah, well, she's not your typical MJ by any means.
And like
She's not what you would think MJ is, because she's a little more emo than what you would think MJ is.
Well, I mean, I like it because it shows
cool,
them
though.
as more of like a friend thing.
I don't
And
because
it's not,
that's how they start off.
the other thing that's great about Homecoming is it's not about like him saving the damsel in distress. It's about him
trying to
saving
prove
New
himself.
York.
Well, not even that. Learning how to be a superhero on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's the other thing about that scene where he's lifting up the rubble is there's no one there to help him. When he has the boat thing, Iron Man comes and saves his butt. But when it's just the rubble, he has to learn that sometimes there's not going to be anyone there to help him. And he has to be able to do this on his own. And that's, like, I can't describe it. It just makes me so happy.
I'm glad they understood that Spider-Man was witty.
Yeah. Good quips in that movie.
Like
For sure, yes.
I remember seeing in the trailer that like made me want to see the film instantly was when the boat was split in half.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like swinging around, webbing everything.
Walking on.
And I like when he's like, he hears the boat thing, and Tony's like, "What was that?" He's like, "Band practice." I didn't know you were in band. He doesn't know how to respond to that. That was Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. My favorite thing too is like just like the little montage of when he's doing the New York and he swings and falls on his face. But not only that, when like that guy's like, "Hey, you're that spider guy, right? Yeah, do a backflip." And he just pops a backflip real quick. I'm like, see, that's just you laugh because you're just like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Like,
Okay, well, that reminded me of so one thing that I do really appreciate in the Tobey Maguire movies is when the little kid is like, "Oh my God, you're Spider-Man."
He's like, "Eat your vegetables."
Eat your vegetables, kid. And then he's like goes home and you see him eating a bunch of vegetables.
yeah, he's like, no. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's like each one of the Spider-Man movies has those scenes that stick out that are like really good. But like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, both of their movies, just there was so many negatives over positives. While the Homecoming was more, everything was just great.
Yeah, I nitpick Homecoming sometimes. I'd have to rewatch it to like nitpick it again because it's been a while.
So Speaking of Homecoming, there is a theory about Uncle Ben for Homecoming. Do y'all know what theory I'm talking about? So
No.
there is a theory about Uncle Ben, and if y'all have seen Avengers: Infinity War, and Homecoming,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, I'm not saying any spoilers, but there's movie references in there, really old movie references. So the theory is that Peter Parker carries Uncle Ben around with him all the time with these movie references. That's the person who taught him how to watch the movies, and so that's why they're so important to him, and why he's like a big Star Wars fan and a big Alien fan, which
Got
I
it.
wouldn't have watched back then.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it
I
makes
wouldn't
it
have
so
either.
much more sad because they don't have to put Uncle Ben in there if
I-
that's the theory.
I really, really love how they handled his origin story.
Oh, for sure.
And this goes back to like Civil War when he's like trying to make up all these excuses when Tony Stark is in his room,
Yeah.
like saying like, "This is you. You carry this car." He's like, "No, that's not me. That was on YouTube." And then he like pokes the ceiling while he's like trying to explain himself, and it falls down. And he comes and runs. I like how he's like, he says, "I'd love to play football. I couldn't then," and he says, "So I shouldn't now," because that took me until like recently to like he couldn't play it then because he was like some scrawny kid.
Yeah.
He can play it now, but he shouldn't because he couldn't play it then.
Yeah, exactly.
And like,
It just shows his moral compass.
yeah,
and-
it shows that like he wasn't a fan of he wasn't a fan of the change, but it changed him to the point where he has to like change who he is.
Yeah.
And I really, really like that.
I also like the fact that they didn't do the great power with great power comes great responsibility, but like the way they portrayed it in Civil War, where he was like, if I see someone doing something bad and I don't do anything about it, like, ain't I just as much as in fault? Like, I should be able to do something about that
Yeah,
if I can.
because he knows he has the power to stop
yeah,
it.
for sure.
If you're just a random Joe, like it's a serious danger for you to go
Mhm.
to go do that. But if you have super abilities, it's a whole nother ballgame.
Like,
Right.
why don't you? If you can help somebody,
Yeah,
why
it's,
wouldn't
it's
you?
the same mentality of like if a cop that has a handgun and pepper spray and like all these and training and knows how to take down a criminal, if they just see somebody getting robbed and walk away,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
like they have the power to stop it.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. I
So
thought that line was okay, but
the only gripe I have with Homecoming, and it is super nitpicky, is there's one like political like just sly in there, and I'm like, really? Like you went the whole movie and
What was it?
didn't say anything. It's when MJ is talking, like they talk about how like all the monuments are built like by slaves, which is not even true.
I don't think that's like a political, push. I think that was just her saying like
that may be a
something
part of her
that-
character.
That's
No,
her character.
Yeah, I know, but it's still like it was just annoying. Just
No, I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with it. I thought it was funny.
Y'all couldn't see me, but I face palmed when that happened.
but I mean, like if you actually look it up, like it's not
yeah.
not that true.
I
well,
want
of
to talk
course,
about Ned.
Politics aside. Oh, Ned's great. I love that. I love him. Just
He shows up.
I wish that Ned's awesome. I do love Ned, but classic Spider-Man is that there's no Harry. Like, where's Harry?
that is a good point.
Yeah.
I feel like Harry was mentioned in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I
He
could
may
be wrong.
have been.
He may have been, but we just didn't notice it,
or like,
or I don't remember it.
or maybe they're saving like Harry to be like a college like best friend too.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I could.
There's
see them
another
doing
movie
that.
coming.
Yeah, that has plenty of time to wrap that.
yeah.
My favorite. Yeah, I just like Ned's character. All like everything he says
it's
is
so
a stitch.
good. He's so quirky.
He starts off with like, "Come build my Lego Death Star," and Peter turns around. He's like, "You finally got it!" And like
Yeah.
these girls like look at him weird, and like he looks back at him, and then I just had something. He like drops the Lego Death Star. I thought that was funny. And then like when he's like, "We have a Spanish test," he's like, "That's not important right now." And I thought that was really funny.
Another thing great about Homecoming is people, not dogging on anybody, but people like older that try to portray teenagers in TV shows or movies kind of get
Very
this,
stereotyped.
oh well,
Mhm.
yeah, and get the sense like that teenagers talk a certain way and like
Right.
Yeah.
so like I think it's Riverdale, like they talk super intelligent, and I'd be like, dude, what are you talking about? Like it's not it's
We're
not
just a bunch of dudes.
it doesn't
like,
sound natural. And like in Homecoming, it's totally natural. Like, come build my Death Star. That's funny. Come build my Death Star, dude, and then reacts like, yes, let's totally do it. That's something how I would react. I'd be like,
Yeah.
yes.
Me and my friend in high school, we legitimately had that same moment because he had a Lego Death Star.
Yeah.
Oh
And we
my.
built it, and
Did you break it too?
Nah,
Dang.
it's still in his room.
That'd been great if he like dropped it and smashed it.
I don't think he took it to college with him. It'd be weird if
You
he
should
did.
you should just show up and
It would not be weird.
throw it on the ground.
I mean, it'd be a pain in the butt to transport.
Yeah. I want to talk about
What'd you say?
I said just walk in his room and throw it on the ground. Be
Oh,
like,
Jesus Christ! Heck no, I'm not gonna do that.
and just be like, "This is for homecoming." Just
I would
for the reference.
I would deserve to get beat for that. Like I would deserve it.
I want to
get
talk about
beat or beef.
okay, I'm talking about Aunt May. Listen up.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so into Spider-Man Homecoming, he puts on the new suit. He finally got the new suit back. Aunt May sees him in the new suit. And then what happens after that? Because the next movie, chronologically, is Infinity War.
Oh, that is a good point.
I keep thinking about that. Aunt May never says anything.
Maybe they'll wrap that up in this next movie.
Yeah.
That is kind of
I
like
sure
a
hope
plot.
they do.
That is like kind of like an open thing that they left open to see
Because-
how she reacts.
because
Like
if
you
they're
never
gonna-
know.
If they're gonna make another movie, like it's probably gonna be in between Homecoming and Infinity War because
It's called Spider-Man Far From Home.
Mhm.
So based on how I think Infinity War turns out after the movie, I think it's going to be after.
Yeah,
Really?
I hope it's after because then that means
maybe the opening is in between and then it cuts.
or better yet, they could just do like Aunt May calls him and goes, "What are you doing? You're not doing any of that Spire stuff, right?" Or like it's on to him or something very subtle, like to show that she's still kind of against it,
Yeah.
but can't stop him.
Yeah,
kind
but
of thing.
that would still be in between Infinity War and
Well, I mean, like even if it's not, that's how you could do it if it's after Infinity War.
Speaking,
And she's dead in
Oh,
Infinity War. She
I-
could be dead in Infinity War for
Right.
all we know.
it's true. Yeah, we don't really know who dies and who doesn't.
Yeah.
I survived. There's a website where you can check that. If you survived or not.
I don't want to know if I survived.
I'm gonna.
At least it was
Is
painless.
it? Did Thanos kill me?
I think it is.
But anyway, the other part I love about Ned is that he had a little cameo in Infinity War where he distracted the bus.
Yeah,
like,
he's like-
I was spared.
I was like, yes, Ned.
He was like, Ned, I need a distraction. And he just immediately like created like
Yeah.
just
I
like
was like, that's a best friend right there. Create a distraction. Hey guys, look over there. Like,
so it said I was spared.
you were
wait,
spared. I was
Thanos
spared my
spared me.
first time, but I just looked it up and I was not. So
Well, it's randomly generated because
Yeah.
it's probably just 50% of all the people that go there.
I'm probably gonna die.
Um,
I have bad luck.
so while we're doing
you were.
this,
I was spared. Never mind.
Yeah, you know what? You want to know why you were spared? Because I went there, then Jonathan went there, and then you went there. So and people probably aren't going to that often anymore.
I don't know.
And it's 50-50, so it just goes back and forth between every user that goes there.
You were
Maybe.
spared by Thanos. I like how like white card this thing
Yeah.
is. This is terrifying.
I
Anyway.
want to talk about future Spider-Man movies. We talked a little bit about Spider-Man Far From Home.
Mhm.
I want to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know. I'm really excited for it, but Sony Pictures, I think. It's like Sony Pictures and
Does Sony own the rights to Spider-Man?
like partial rights or something.
rights.
I think so.
That makes sense why it's a PS4.
But the same people that are doing Spider-Man have also done the Emoji Movie, which is why
Are you serious?
yeah
The Emoji Movie was awful.
yeah
I didn't see it. I didn't care to see
You
it.
don't-
I didn't see it, but I just know it's terrible. Columbia Pictures did it. They did the Emoji Movie, but they do a lot of things, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, was it like the exact same people or just the same company?
It was the same company.
Because you can have
Yeah,
different teams.
I guess that's kind of a broad thing to
yeah.
base
Sony
it on.
Pictures does own the rights to Spider-Man
Complete
films.
rights or partial rights?
It doesn't say.
It's weird.
I really love the trailer. There's so many things in the trailer.
It's the art style is so pretty.
Yeah.
Like, I
There's
love the way
there's a
it's
trailer for a new Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man Into the
It's
Spider-Verse.
an animated movie.
Oh,
It's not like it's
I
not
still
canon
don't-
with
I haven't
the
seen
MCU.
I haven't seen it yet.
We'll
Yeah.
show you after.
Yeah,
'cause,
we'll show
know,
you after.
On a
If
podcast,
you haven't
can't
seen the
really-
trailer to this, go look it up. It looks pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But what my only pet peeve with this is when they do like the interdimensional rift. I hope they find a good way of explaining of how that happens, and it's
Yeah.
just not like Peter Parker shows up one day and Miles is like super shocked because in that reality Peter's dead. So like they better be like there's like a huge rift or Doctor Strange or something happens.
That'd be really cool
that
if they did
explains
Doctor
it.
Strange.
That would be really cool. I would enjoy that.
I
thoroughly.
want to talk about Venom.
I'm so excited.
I
It
don't
looks
know.
good,
Great.
but so I'm not into like the spooky stuff. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Send shivers down your spine. But anyways, so I'm not into the whole spoopy stuff, and so it'll be interesting if it's because I think they might be trying to make it into somewhat of a horror-ish movie, and if that's the case, I won't be the biggest fan of it. But if it's just like Venom and just creepy, like I'm okay with that.
I think it's more creepy. Like I think that when like Venom's introduced, it's more like a horror-esque movie.
Yeah,
I think that's how
like
they're gonna do
Spider-Man,
it.
like Spider-Man 3
Oh
kind
yeah,
of thing.
but like after that, I feel like it's just gonna be how Venom should be. One quick fact: Tom Hardy's Venom voice is him burping each line. Fun fact.
That is not true.
That is
I'm
true.
looking that up right now.
To every line that he says is Venom, he's like belching.
That's
So they
pretty
get that
funny.
right, and then they deepen it for him. But Tom Hardy's a great actor. I think Tom Hardy's a really good. I mean, he played Bane in The Dark Knight. The
Oh, did
man's
he
a
really?
beast. Yes, he had to wear 5-inch stilts as Bane, but steels.
Tom Hardy.
He's a beast. That man's he did another movie
broke
called
Batman's back.
Warrior. A movie called Warrior where he plays 2 UFC fighters. It's a really good movie if y'all haven't seen it. It's super awesome.
I don't know how I feel about Venom because the trailer didn't really show me anything that like
Stuck out.
stuck
This
out.
guy played Bane. I just looked up pictures of him.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
beast.
You can't really tell because Bane has the mask.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I did not expect him.
And Bane, I think is
Bane
Bane
is bald, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So he had his head shaved.
or a bald,
Or a bald cap.
Yeah.
Like Venom is such a cool villain. Like Venom and Carnage,
Oh yeah.
so cool.
And they did it like size comparison. They did him right. He's huge, which I thought was really important.
I
like
really-
in the Raimi trilogy, he's like the same size as Peter Parker when he should have been like 4 times the size of Peter Parker.
yeah,
And in this Venom, even though he hasn't met Spider-Man yet, I think it will be really, really great when he finally does and gets the white spider because
yeah.
and Peter. It would just be a cool dynamic.
I- I'm like, I thought. Okay, let's go back to the Raimi trilogy 'cause since we're talking about Venom. The villains in Spider-Man 3, we didn't really talk a whole lot about Spider-Man 3.
That's because you don't need to. It's trash.
I think
I mean,
think
it's not complete trash, but it is definitely awkward.
It's
I think
so
it's-
bad.
almost equal. It's the worst of the Spider-Man films. I think
For
it's
sure.
just a little worse than Spider-Man 1. Just a little bit.
But then again, like thinking back, they should have learned from their mistakes, and they did not in Spider-Man 3. It was just
In Spider-Man 3,
a whole
Sandman
fiasco.
is not really like,
A
in my
good
opinion,
villain.
that interesting of a villain.
I think his motives were genuine. I like the fact that if they would have focused the movie on Sandman alone, I think it would have been a really good movie because
If
like
they'd-
he connected to Peter in some way.
They should have just
Yeah.
focused the movie on any one of the villains.
Exactly.
Except,
it would have been so much better if they just focused on one.
well, I would also make the case that like they could focus on one villain and like since Harry becomes, New Goblin, I think they could have focused on Harry being New Goblin and him turning back into like a good guy and helping defeat the other villains. But Sandman, like he was like always like kind of scared and like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sandman was just like he was a good character,
Mm-hmm.
but he was not a good villain.
Yeah.
He only had like 2 shots, 2 scenes.
Yeah.
The black spider suit was kind of dumb.
Yes.
I
agree.
I do like how they explained that, sorta, how he was like kind of Venom,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought New Goblin was fine at the end.
I feel like they should just.
It was kind of a weird thing to do that.
like I said. I feel like they should have just focused on one, and it would have been so much better.
Well, I don't know. I think Spider-Man 3 was not as bad as people say.
I'm not saying it's like horrible.
Yeah,
but it's
a lot of
definitely the worst
people
out of the
like
3.
revere that as the worst Spider-Man film like
Oh, yeah.
ever, and
But-
like I don't think that's the case.
But compared to Homecoming, the rest are just they do not pale in comparison to Homecoming at all.
Yeah, Homecoming is on its own level.
So good, goodness, it's so good.
Well, I think that does it for time. Or am I wrong
Yeah,
again for
I
the
mean-
second week?
We can go ahead and wrap it up.
We can. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, myself. Thank you, Brent.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate
It's
it.
fun talking
This was
about
fun.
Spider-Man.
We could do it again
Honestly, we should like go watch these movies sometime this week.
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean,
for
I
sure.
have all of them except for Homecoming.
I
and
will,
that's
I will
like-
buy Homecoming.
You wanna
I want that.
go get them and we should watch them today.
That's a.
I got to study for a
rush.
math test, but well, that's episode 3 of the Revolver.
Woo!
Any closing
Alrighty.
thoughts before we wrap it up completely?
I still hold to my position that the Tobey Maguire series or movies are better than Andrew Garfield.
If we watch the movies, your opinion will change.
I'm sure they will.
And Homecoming is my favorite of all time. Spider-Man's my favorite superhero of all time.
Yeah, mine
Just wanna
too.
point that out real quick.
I think we all agree that Homecoming is the best.
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure.
of the best of them all.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man's the best superhero of them all.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. This has been the Revolver. Tune in next week.